Player 2 has joined the game.
Hey yo, what's up everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Two Player Co-op Podcast. As always, I'm one of your hosts here, Kevin, along with no one else today because Sean could not make it. But yeah, this is a very special episode of the Two Player Co-op Podcast. If you didn't know, every week, usually two brothers get together to tell you everything you need to know about in the world of video games. If you like that, make sure you like the video, subscribe, share it with your friends, family, and everyone in betwixt. If you really like us, you can go to patreon.com/2playercoop, just like our producers, Steve Appleton, Aunt Sue, Vernon Slayton, and Dustin Downs did, as well as our affiliates, James Solar, Sarah Solar, and John Tangley. If you like merch of the two-player co-op variety, you can go to teespring.com/2player co-op. So yeah, I just want to record this. After I talked to Dustin, I didn't want to subjugate him to all of this stuff, all the rigmarole and everything. But yeah, just got done recording with Dustin. This was a lot of fun. Dustin is someone that I'm super proud of. I've seen him grow. I've seen him go from just being an editor at Last Stand Media to a full-time co-host of Sacred Symbols, my favorite video game podcast on the internet. And he was nice enough to join me for about an hour or so to talk about, how he got to Last Stand Media, working for Colin, favorite games, current games that are out, all that kind of stuff. And it was a really fun chat, and I hope you guys like it. So that's enough for this intro. Please enjoy this interview with Dustin Furman. What's up, everybody? Welcome to a very special episode of the Two Player Co-op Podcast. Greetings and salutations, as it were. I am joined today, not with my brother from my mother, Sean, as I said in the opening, but I am joined today by Dustin Furman, the executive producer at Last Stand Media and the co-host of Sacred Symbols, the best video game podcast that there is.
Whoa, thank you. The very best, man. Thank you. That's high praise.
It is. I was so happy when Colin, and I told him when he came on our show a few months ago, I was just so happy when he came back to games. And it was one of those things where I had never heard of Chris Raygun, never, but I love Colin. I've been following him probably for as long as he's been a thing. And it just, when he came back and Sacred Symbol started, I was like, I don't know who this Chris guy is, but just listening to the first episode, I was like, this is awesome. And it is without a doubt, to me, it's the best video game podcast that there is. And I will say, like I was telling you before we went on the air, the only other podcast I listen to is Game Scoop. I love Damon and what they do over there with 20
Damon's
questions.
Great.
Yeah. 20 questions and all that. We've aped that in our past on our podcast. We also started doing a while ago, we used to do something called the Back of the Box Challenge, where we would go and we would look at the back of a retail box from our childhood, and we would read the back of the box, bleeping out any names or anything that would give it away, and then the other host would try to guess. And we had a lot of fun with that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, but at some point we just run out of ideas, so we're like, we bring it back every once in a while when we do a big episode or something. But yeah, and I just want to say, Dustin, I don't like change. So at first, and I tweeted you this and you liked it, so I know this is cool for me to say. At first, when you started coming on, I was like, well, first, I didn't know who Chris Raygun was. And like a lot of people said, that's not Greg. Well, whatever. And then Dustin started coming on. I was like, I don't know Dustin that well. What is happening? But then by the time it got announced that you were the official third chair of Sacred Symbols, I was just so freaking happy.
Well, thank you.
I love listening to you and Colin and Chris. You guys do such a fantastic job. You're a great addition to the show. I'm so happy for you and jealous as well.
Yeah.
But
it's funny. I think that there may be some people that thought that my slow including was like a part of a long plan, where it's like Dustin was like, or Colin was like, Dustin, I'm going to incorporate you, but we're going to do it slowly. No, it's just like one episode Chris couldn't be there, and I was like, get Maddie in. He's the guy. He's the guy. And then Maddie couldn't make it. I was like, well, I guess you're getting me. And then Colin invited me a few more times. I'm like, okay. And then eventually he was inviting me every week. And it literally wasn't until I think 3 weeks before I was announced as the third co-host that I knew. I was just like, bro, if you invite me to be on, this show, I'll be there day or night, whatever, I will be there. So it's truly, and I mean, it's funny because we're talking about video game podcasts, but it is truly like one of the great honors of my life to be able to be on that show. It's like, so I wake up and I'm still like very, very thankful for that
Yeah.
opportunity.
I love it. And one of the things I also love, you listen to a lot of podcasts where there's 3 or 4 people on it and they all end up just talking over each other. But I don't know if it's a compliment to Colin or just the rapport that you all 3 have, but you guys it never devolves into everybody's talking at the same time and I can't hear anything. You know what I mean? And that's tough to do when you got multiple people on a podcast, especially when you're remote, you know?
Right. Yeah, that's something I think that's extremely important for us, that so it's never going to be perfect because of remote. Like you said, there's always going to be that little bit of latency, so it's hard to get that back and forth perfect. But especially now, it's gotten so much easier for us in that doing the video really helps, so you can see and know
Yeah.
like the cues and stuff. But we also just kind of, you get, I mean, this from podcasting, is just that you get like a feeling of when like the right time to interject is, or like, so but yeah, I don't like talking over each other either. Some people like that, like kind of like free for all style podcast. Whatever, that's cool. It would never be how I would want to do it.
Yeah.
So we're happy to provide that for people that are looking for something like that.
Yep, I agree. And I know you're super busy, so thank you so much for taking the time to meet with
Oh yeah,
me.
no
Um,
problem.
so for the people that don't know, who is Dustin Furman?
Well, man, where do you want to start?
Well, so I guess
Um,
how did you become the executive producer at Last Stand? I know you've said in the past that you met Colin. I can't remember if it was a PAX or what it was in the past, but like, how did it go from Colin's out there? He comes back to games. First he does Colin's Last Stand, political stuff. He realizes that's not his passion. He wants to come back to games, Sacred
Right.
Symbols, some little bit of YouTube stuff. I think he was still editing everything himself then. So how did you get into the picture at what is now Last Stand Media?
Yeah. So I was looking for a job in games industry for years, basically, from like right after I finished high school. I was doing video production work at a local place, and I got into gaming podcasts. And the first gaming podcast I ever listened to was a show called Beyond,
Mm-hmm.
and it was Colin and Greg, and I was like, "Whoa, these guys make money talking about video games. That's pretty cool."
Yep.
And something kind of clicked in my head where I was like, maybe I could do this. Maybe not though. I have to at least try though, right? And so to make this story not super long, I ended up eventually starting my own company called Handsome Phantom with some of my friends, my very good friend Brandon, who's been my friend since like 8th grade, and Ben Smith, who's also
The mayor.
yes, the mayor, Ben Smith, and also associate producer at Last
Yep.
Stand Now. We started that website together, and that kind of opened a lot of doors for us to work in the games industry. None of us were like making money at all. Like we had a Patreon. I'm still lightly involved. Like I help them out with their podcast, but I'm definitely not a cog in the wheel that keeps Handsome Phantom running anymore. But like was a Patreon, but we never like we lost money on that endeavor, which it was fine. It was a passion project, and we got to go to stuff like PAX and stuff. So anyway, at one E3, Ben, the mayor, as you mentioned, was on Fireside Chats. And so that was how I had first met Colin on a more professional. I actually met him at New York Comic Con a few years before, but it was just like a fan interaction. And Colin then a few months later, that December, I believe it was December 2017, he was looking for an editor. And I was like, okay, here we go. This is my time to strike. And so I emailed Colin. I was like, hey, this is who I am. This is how we met. I heard you're looking for an editor. Here's my portfolio. I think it speaks for itself. Let me know. And so Colin was like, well, yeah, I am looking for an editor, but I was hoping for someone local, but I'm willing to give you a shot.
That's a good impression, by the way.
Yeah, he was in like, well, I was kind of hoping for someone local, but I'm willing to give you a shot. And I'm like, okay, well, cool. So my first edit ever for Last Stand was I was editing the audio for the Metal Gear Solid episode of Knockback.
Oh,
And we didn't tell anybody that I was, dude, beautiful. Dude, I love that, man. I need one of those.
it's my favorite series of all time. And
Oh, dude, it's so great.
so
I remember, dude, I played that. That was like one of my early games that was instrumental in like my love of games. I think I was a little young to play. I was in first grade, but I beat Metal
God,
Gear Solid.
I'm so old.
It was awesome.
Okay, wait. So sorry, Dustin, not to get off on a tangent here, but like I said,
go for it.
My favorite series of all time. What I always say, so I'm going to be 40 in November.
Okay.
I kind of started falling out of video games. I was a Sega kid, so that might be part of the problem. We got we got the Saturn, and that didn't go so well. And I kind of started falling out. My brother is 3 years younger than me. He was just gung ho all the way. He got his N64 in '98, and I was kind of like whatever because he got it with Ocarina and everything. I went to college. I didn't actually play Metal Gear Solid on PlayStation at first. I played it on my PC that I had at college when I was a freshman in '99. And that was the game. And I always say Hideo Kojima is my Lord and Savior.
Yeah.
That's the game it's not like I wouldn't be here actually without Metal Gear, but I would definitely not be doing this without Metal Gear Solid. It's so important and it's my favorite series of all time. So that makes me happy.
Well, dude, yeah. I mean, there had been games that had cutscenes, obviously, but nobody did it to that level to make it like a cinematic experience before that, I feel like.
Yep.
So man, incredible game. But so yeah, we didn't tell anybody, and then we put the edit out. Nobody noticed that it was like a different edit or whatever, because Colin's very particular. Like he wants ums and ahs, like they're very finely edited. And so from there, it kind of just like snowballed. Like he was having me edit Knockback, and then he added Fireside Chats when we were doing that show. And then eventually it was like, okay, here's the big one. You're going to edit Sacred Symbols. And so I'd kind of become Colin's main go-to guy for edits. And it was very stressful, just because I was like terrified of screwing up, just because it was like, oh, this might be a foot in the door situation. And Colin, he paid very well and he was fun to work with. And obviously like he was part of the reason why I was striving to get into the industry. So it was like, oh, holy crap. But then, so yeah, he was having me edit everything. And eventually he brought me on as a actual employee, as his editor, and doing some other light stuff. And so it was great, because then I like was able to leave my editing job and just work from home and do these edits. And it was crazy. It was like surreal that I could make money. It was cool. It was like, obviously, like deep down, I knew I wanted to be on content, but I was content to just be involved. So I wasn't gonna like ask or demand of anything. I was like, if it's supposed to happen, it will happen naturally. And then, I mean, from there, it was just like Colin gave me more responsibilities. It was about a year ago that he gave me the position of executive producer. And so I got a lot more say in like what we do and the direction of the company. And man, in the last, it feels like really though, the last 7 months has just been like more stuff has happened in 7 months than since like the entire time of like 2018, 2019, and 2020 was just like, just because of the rebrand and the way we changing our name and adding Defining Duke. And so sorry, I tried to make that short, and I think it ended up being long anyway, but that's the story.
That was perfect. I mean, the reason that my brother and I do this, obviously it's not our full-time gig. We both have full-time jobs. In my dream world, this would be our full-time job, but it's probably never going to happen, but that's okay. I mean, we've got a Patreon that's pretty small, but we've got some awesome, an awesome small group of fans that really love us. And yeah, the reason we started this was, I mean, going back to the Kind of Funny days, it was Colin and Greg. It was just like all the talk about the spare bedroom and everything. And one time we went out to get pizza. It was me and my wife, my brother and his wife. And we were just like, we should do a podcast. Or my brother said it, and I was like, oh my God, because he had just moved here down to Memphis. He was up in the Northeast in Connecticut in Groton. And I was like, I was hoping you were going to say that. It was right after Metal Gear Solid 5 came out. He was starting to play through it. I had already blown through it, of course. And we just said, let's figure this out. And we just got one of our old crappy MacBooks and a couple of USB mics, and we made it work. And it's like I said, it's probably never going to be our full-time job, but it's a reason to get with my brother every week and hang out and do Let's Plays and podcasts. And it's just the best. And yeah, Colin was the inspiration for that, along with Greg also. But I mean,
Right.
Colin's he's been my guy. So
Yeah, dude. And that's great. I love hearing stories like that, because I feel, you know, you have to enjoy the work, or the actual, because like, yeah, everyone loves the idea of doing a podcast or doing Let's Plays, and then
Yep.
like once you get into it, you're like, oh man, this is sometimes more difficult than I thought. And it's definitely hard to be consistent. I mean, man, like
yeah,
it's difficult, but it sounds like you've got like, the fact that the passion stems from the experience and like the relationship you have is fantastic. And that was kind of a pretty similar experience for me with the Handsome Phantom Boys. Like, it's cool. Like, I love podcasting with Colin and Chris and Maddie and those guys, but it was hard to leave behind Handsome Phantom, because those are my real life friends.
Yeah.
Like, Brandon was in my wedding, and like Ben's kids are like, they love my wife Holly, and so it's like very we're very connected, and so leaving that behind was very difficult. But they were supportive of me. They understood. And they're still doing great. The HP podcast, check them out. They're doing awesome.
Awesome. So I did get one question. It was a write-in from one of our Patreon supporters, James Solar, who you might remember. Actually, he was on the first episode of Call In with Colin,
Right.
and he was the Returnal guy that every time he would play like 10 minutes. Now, since then, he has now beaten the game.
Okay.
So
Good.
he finally, it started working. I want to ask you about Returnal a little bit, because I'm about to kill myself for that game. But he wrote in and said, "Hey, Jaguar, Dustin." He had to.
I will never escape that, and I'm okay with it, because I'm going to stand by it, Jaguar.
Dude, it's like I tweeted you this week, and I was like, when I heard it, I was like, yeah, he said Jaguar. And I've seen, because I work with a lot of people in the UK in my job. Obviously, it's all remote and everything.
Oh.
But they do say the Jaguar. So I've heard that. But then when I heard Jaguar, I was like, what? And then Colin called it out, and I was like, oh my, I was literally about to just spit my drink out. I couldn't. It was just one of the funniest things I've heard in a while. But he says, it's awesome to see you on a show with some folks that I actually know. What has been the biggest obstacle you've had to overcome at LSM as executive producer? If you could go back and give yourself one piece of insight, what would it be?
This is a great question. Okay. The biggest obstacle, I want to make sure I portray this in the right way. The biggest obstacle was probably gaining Colin's trust.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean that in any negative way towards Colin, because Colin has had quite a few things happen to him.
Yeah.
That makes it hard to trust people that he works with. And I totally get that. And so for me, it was difficult at times to, I guess, be patient is the right word, because like when I was like just editing Knockback, I was like, let's go. I'm ready for more. Like, come on, let's do this. And that wasn't where Colin was at. And that's fine. And it probably was better in the long run, because now Colin and I have this really great working relationship where I'm his like go-to guy, and it's great. But that was a long process, and it was kind of nerve-wracking, like I said, for me, just because. So after Colin hired me, I believe we had a text interaction, and we were talking about like someone. It wasn't anyone that works for. I'm trying to remember. It was like someone in something didn't get back to us or whatever, and I'm like, how can people like do that? Like when they're presented this opportunity, he's like, yeah, that happens. I was like, I would have never done that. He's like, yeah, if you would have spaced or like screwed up early on, you would have been gone. I was like, oh, good to know. Which I think was in his right. Like, this is a, we run on consistency. That is like one of the lifebloods of our brand is we are always, even if we met, like, for example, we ended up missing Knockback last week, but today on our Patreon, or yesterday and today, we posted 2 episodes. So it's like we were a little late, which almost never happens.
Yep.
But we're not gonna like, miss an episode for people. We just might do a little behind. So, it was difficult to break that barrier. And Collins, dude, he's done so well in that he has become more trusting. He's let go. That's kind of what he said in some of his letters, is that it's like, it's been hard for me to let go and relinquish some control of this company, but I just can't do it anymore. And the growth is beyond just me. And it's been cool that he's allowed other people to come in and kind of make this their own as well. And I think that's probably one of the most exciting aspects. But so that was the difficult. The other question was the advice.
Yeah.
The advice I would have given myself was just to relax because it's like, I'm still kind of like this. I'm like slightly paranoid. Like I have to watch Patreon posts go live and like see the first few comments to make sure that nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
Which like 99% of the time there's nothing wrong, but I don't know. It's one of those things I always say that like I have, I don't think I would consider it condition, but I have like stress and anxiety about stuff like that. But I try to use it to my advantage in order to make things as good as possible. It makes me consistent. So that's my advice then, and my advice now is to just like chill out, because if something goes slightly wrong, it'll be okay. We can fix things if needed.
Yeah. The funny thing that just makes me think of, so my brother and I started playing through for Zelda's 35th anniversary. We played through Zelda 1, one of my favorite games of all time. Now we're playing through probably my second favorite game of all time, in A Link to the Past. And the first episode we did on our channel, we played through, you wake up, your uncle dies, you get the sword, you save Zelda, and you go out, and we're like, okay, that was about 15, 18 minutes. Do we want to cut it there, or do we want to just go through the first dungeon? And we said, while we're recording, we said, okay, let's just cut it there. Let's go back into the sanctuary, come back out, and then I'll cut it there. And I'll say, all right, we'll be back next episode. And because I didn't edit it for like a week after we recorded, I completely forgot about that and left it all in. And I'm like, you know what? At this point, who cares? First of all, like I said, it's just time for me to hang out with my brother and stuff. But like, to see that, I just said, look, it's just like it's like an included blooper. Who cares at this point? But yeah. Well, thank you for answering that for James. Like I said, he's for sure. He's a patron of us. He's a patron of y'all. So thank you for that.
He seems like a good guy. I've talked to him. I think he's been in my Twitch chats before as well. And he was great on that the call-in episode. So
yeah. James is great. We met him. We did a ranking. It was actually right before Breath of the Wild came out. We ranked all the Zelda games, and I haven't played anywhere near all of them. And we just put all the multiplayer ones at the bottom, and then we did it after that. But nice. So how is it? You've kind of talked about this so far, but working for Colin, and I love Colin. I continue to be amazed by, he could tweet that the sky is blue and everyone would get pissed. So working for Colin, now being a co-host of the best video game podcast that there is, have you gotten crap because of that? Like, do people just come at you just because you're associated with him? Or is it more just they just have their bullseye on Colin, which again, I will never freaking understand. I get it. He made a bad Al Bundy joke. Who cares? Get over yourselves. But yeah, I just wonder if any of that ever rolls towards you now being, an official co-host of Sacred Symbols and everything.
Right. Yeah. So it's interesting just because the way that it's affected me is like indirect. I mean, it is direct, but not like, very few people have tweeted at me directly. I think like one guy when I got hired was like, wow, you just burned your shot to get a job anywhere else. And I was like, okay, whatever, that's fine. So the ways that it's been indirect though, have been kind of, it's not frustrating. It's just like annoying. Cause I guess I had a better view of certain people in that there are I wouldn't call them friends, but like friendly acquaintances that I've made with people, and even people that I've done favors for or have had dinner with. Like we've broke bread together, and when they saw that I was working for Colin, they promptly, I'll like go and like see their profile a little bit later, and it's like, oh, they don't follow me anymore. Which I know that that's like petty. It's Twitter.
Yes.
It's stupid.
Right.
But it does send a little bit of a message that it's just like, yeah, no, not anymore. And it's like, okay. And then the other thing, that's this is even more frustrating is so for a decent amount of when I've been working with Colin, I was also working at Handsome Phantom at the same time. Particularly when I was just doing editing stuff before I was on Sacred Symbols. And in January, as I mentioned, we hired Ben, and Ben is the editor in chief of handsomephantom.com. I won't name the entity or the company, but we had a great relationship with them. We reviewed all their games. We reviewed them on time, and I think we were always fair. We took their appointments at PAX. We wrote great previews on their stuff, and we had a great relationship. Then Ben got hired, and Ben is our contact person between us and this company. And they just didn't respond to Handsome Phantom anymore. Just totally stopped responding. And this is like someone we would say hi to at events regularly, knew each other by name and stuff. And then this company is just like, no, you are guilty by by association.
Right.
And it's just, it sucks. People can, I mean, these companies can do whatever they want. It's fine. I don't mean to say this in an arrogant way, but for Last Stand, it's like, we don't need the PR support anymore. And we're very thankful. Not everyone can do that. That's something I think that Colin sometimes doesn't mention, is that it's like, we're kind of lucky, like very lucky that we don't need PR. But so yeah, it's frustrating. But like, to me now, the way I think about it is that Colin and I, we don't like agree 100% like politically or even how we behave online. Like it's different, but like, I don't like you, I don't have any problem with Colin or how I wouldn't be working with him if that was
of course,
the case. But the people that have such hatred, I don't really want to be associated with them anyway, if I'm being honest. Like, I'm not going to go and unfriend someone or like whatever, or like diss somebody that speaks out, but it's like, whatever. You can think what you think, what I think, whatever. It's fine. But people are too willing to just write people off for the smallest things. And it's sad, dude.
It's crazy. So I lost some, what I will say in quotes, friends here locally, a group we used to be associated with. When the thing happened a month ago or something, I think it's when I first DM'd you, because I was just so pissed off. I was like, I want to talk to everybody at LSM now. But basically it was how Colin said God of War 2 should be on PS5 only, which I agree with. And then local Memphis YouTuber, streamer, whatever, did one of the things where she tweets about, we don't need any C-Star Lynn Moriarty, like not actually typing out his name because everybody's afraid to do that.
Voldemort.
Yeah. And I replied and I said, it's just so funny how none of y'all want to talk so much shit, but you are so afraid to actually name him or add him or anything. And then everybody was like, how dare you do this to a local Memphis person? I was like, maybe I've met this person once. I've no allegiance to them or whatever. I call it like I see it. And then everybody's like, you're gone, whatever. I'm like, well, fine. We're doing even better. You contributed nothing anyways, just whatever. And then, but the biggest thing for us, so we did a video about 4 years ago. Every time it comes up in my time hop, I'm like, oh yeah, that was the day my world went crazy. We did a podcast like 4 years ago, and it was the best title I've ever had for a video. I'm afraid to even say his name because he is kind of like Voldemort. I feel like he'll just pop back up, but I titled it The Character Assassination of Colin Moriarty by the Coward Bob Mackey. And
I may have seen this video.
It was the best title I've ever done. All of a sudden, Bob got wind of it. All of a sudden, we are getting so much hate. Like, and basically what we were saying is you're you're just slandering this man. You're libeling this man. It's absolutely ridiculous. You're just spewing all these lies, whatever. And the amount of vitriol that came at us. First off, I was thankful for the views. It's the second best video we ever did.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, y'all really just, and Bob went in on us, and that's his right. And like, I don't care. Like I've got issues with people online. Like I can't remember what the guy's name is. Game Dad JP. He used to be Mr. Negative, whatever his name is.
Oh yeah, that
guy. And, but when I've had issues with him about Colin, like I tweet at him. I'm not just going to be like G star Emmy Dad JP. I'm going to actually tweet at him and tell him, and he might fire back. He might not. But like this whole thing about punching up that you can have no recourse is just insane to me.
Here's the thing about these characters like Bob Mackey and Game Dad is what's so interesting is that the only traction they get on Twitter is by being over dramatic in particular, or like, oh, you know, let me tweet about Colin or the person that, you know, they think everyone hates, the things that's going to score them the most points. It's like, dude, go to that guy's, you know, Game Dad's Patreon or go to his YouTube channel. It's like,
he gets less views than we do.
Dude, yeah, but for some reason he's known to be for some reason notable only because he's like someone described it to me that's like actually people like him are good because they're lightning rods and they can just like attract all of that at once. I'm like, you know, you might be right. But it's just funny because it's like imagine if like your claim to fame was the guy that talks shit on Colin on Twitter.
Right.
Like that's really all you've got. And the content you actually care about, no one cares.
Right.
And I feel bad because I've been there where no one's cared about the content I made. It sucks. It's just like try to put that output into doing something that is successful. Like I don't want to, you know, be too rough on the guy, but it's like you're doing it wrong, dude. Like, clearly.
It's so weird. Whenever I see him pop up, it is funny how he keeps changing his handle, but whatever. When I see him pop up, then I'm like, let me go to this guy's YouTube channel for Game Dad JP. And I'm like, okay, so their videos are like 30 or 40 every episode. They don't show how many subs they have, but somehow this guy has 10,000 followers. So it's really people just want to see you yell about Colin, I guess. Like, I just don't understand. Like, that's not, I would rather have no views than just be like, you know, Colin left kind of funny, so I hate Greg. I'm just going to yell at Greg all the time and get a fan base. I'm not going to do that. And I don't have anything against, you know, whatever happened there, whatever. But like, that's not how I would rather have the amount of viewers we have make the stuff that we want to make. I'll call stuff out when I need to, but to make your whole online persona just someone that is just mad at this one person, so you can just be like, hey guy, here's a tweet, it's going to get hundreds of likes just because I said it, and then no one cares anything else you say. It's just so weird to me.
Yeah, man. I mean, we're living in a new era of social currency, you know? And that dude, like, it's just so odd. You know, you said he has does he have over 10,000?
I think so, but I don't
yeah, but it's just like, there's probably people that have like 2,000 followers that can put out a tweet and get more engagement on the tweet. Like, I would way rather have a smaller following that is engaged than have a large following that only cares when you say very specific things that is expected of you.
Yeah, he's got over almost 13,000, which boggles my mind because I don't know. He likes Final Fantasy and he hates Colin. That's all I know. So whatever. All right, I don't want to talk about
personality traits.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about these idiots anymore.
Yeah,
okay,
let's move on. I agree.
Do you have any funny Colin stories that you can share? And as an addendum, you did the shower video shoot, right?
Yes.
What when I saw that video go live, I was like, this is the most Colin thing ever. And it is amazing. And also, God, poor Dustin is what went through my head.
Yeah. Dude, Colin's got an awesome shower. It's like a his and her shower. It has like two opposite sides with two shower heads, which is awesome. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know whether to reveal how it went down. It's kind of the secret
If you don't want to
Secret
reveal
song?
it, that's fine. We can all just imagine that Colin was naked with the event horizon and you were
The Event
subject to all
Horizon.
that.
I
Yeah.
can't see out of this eye to this day. It's really difficult. Um, but okay, I'm trying to think of funny Colin story. Okay, this is only gonna be funny to, well, okay. I'll say this one. I'll see if I can think of anything else. We were hanging out. I go to his house like a few times a year, and
Yep.
I'll usually spend the night. We'll have a business meeting, and then we'll usually like chill and watch Trailer Park Boys or something. And there was one point where we were like just hanging out for a bit, and I was like, "Oh, you could play a game or something if you want. I'm just gonna sit here and like work on stuff on my laptop." And then he like looked down at the controller, looked up at his TV, and then he was like, "No, I'm not gonna do that." I was like, "Why not? You can just play." He's like, "It's too awkward for me to play in front of you." And I was like, "So the multiplayer thing goes that far now that you won't even play in front of everybody?" He's like, "Yeah, that's just not. I don't want to do that." Okay,
God.
dude. And so like it's not that funny if someone doesn't know Colin, but the fans of
Right.
Colin that know how he is, it's like that's like a pure Colonism right
That's that's Colin to a T. And I do share that. Like, it's not that I dislike multiplayer games, it's just that I suck at them. Like every year, for some reason, I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'll get Call of Duty and I play through the campaign, whatever. I'm like, let me go online. And now that I'm almost 40, I get there and I'm playing online and I see somebody and I see them and I go to aim and I pull the trigger. And because I'm almost 40, by the time I pull the trigger, I've already got shot in the head and I'm dead. So I'm just like, the only online game that I've really had any fun with was GTA. And I know that was a question a few Sacred Symbols ago. But other than that, I can't do it. I just don't, my skills have atrophied so much. And I think Colin said that a million times and he's younger than me. Like, I don't have the reflexes I used to, I can't do it. So that's something that Colin and I have always been kindred spirits when it comes to the online stuff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He's not into that at all. No, other than that, I mean, it's funny being at Colin's house because it's like exactly like what you would expect. It's different now because last time I was there, Micah had moved in, so it had less of a bachelor feel. But like,
right.
I went into his pantry at one point, and it was like perfectly aligned bottles of water, and then it was like, here is the Sam's Club pack of this, and everything was like perfectly aligned in exactly the right spot. And then I opened the fridge, and it's like, here is the line of beers. Here is the line of Pepsi. Like it was just like perfectly organized. Which Colin's not totally like that. You can see the background of Sacred Symbols. He's kind of messy, but certain things he's like, line this up, So
I'm so glad Mike is in his life to shake him out
she's
of.
Great.
Yeah. I'm so happy that she's officially part of the family now and everything. That it just seems like he's been, and with getting Rush and meeting Micah and everything, he's just been, over the last year or whatever it's been, he's just seemed so much happier, and that makes me happy. I mean, I've been with my wife now. I know you tweeted, you and Holly have been together how long?
Since 2014. So that would be what, 5, 6,
7,
6-ish, 7 years.
Yeah.
I always forget. Holly she's not mad at me anymore because I just don't remember any numbers or anything.
Well,
I can remember October 10th, 2014. I remember that. I remember the anniversary, but
yeah. Well, so I've got 4 kids. So trying to remember 4 birthdays plus my wife's birthday plus anniversary. It's rough. But yeah, we've been together forever. I mean, we were high school sweethearts and everything. We've been together. We've been married now for 16 years.
Nice.
Which is how old I am. But yeah.
Yeah. Holly and I were also, Holly and I knew each other in high school. She went to a different school, but we started dating the summer that I was going into 12th grade, and she's actually a little older than me, so she was going to college. But so I guess that like it's like half high school sweethearts, in a way.
So I brought up Returnal earlier. So like I said, James Solar beat it. My brother beat it. Actually, James got the platinum, so good on him. I don't know how it's even possible with all the RNG crap in this game. You beat it, right? You and Colin both beat it.
Yes.
I have now put the game down. Skyward Sword just came out. I've never played this stupid game, so I'm playing it with controller controls. So I've walked away from Returnal. The thing that broke me was it seemed like everybody was saying the second boss, Ixion, however you would say his name or her name. I don't even know what it is. I'm okay until I get to that third phase when he starts jumping at you and doing the melee, and then there's red fireballs everywhere, and the red ring of death comes out 3 times, and he starts warping and stuff. And I've seen it. I have seen a couple people have tweeted me that like, no, that's probably their least favorite boss in the game, but most everybody else says he's so easy. And like I said earlier about my skills atrophying, I don't know that I can beat this game, and it's going to drive me nuts because I do love it, but I hate it at the same time. But what were your overall thoughts on Returnal? How did you actually beat this freaking game? And just
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, dude, this game, dude, it's hard. Like for real. It's like a real hard game. And part of the problem, at least that I had with it, was I found that a lot of runs became too dependent on RNG
Yep.
and what you picked up. And that really frustrated me because, in particular, the most stuck I ever got in this game was the third biome,
Okay.
the third biome boss. And what I was finding is I was like, man, I can grind out a lot and then die before I even get to the boss, even though I am having a great run. Or I can just blitz through and hope I get a good weapon and a couple power-ups along the way, and then get to like phase 2 of the boss. So like it was frustrating to me just because I was like, I feel like I don't have control over my own play, in the fact that it was so dependent on RNG, which is just, I mean, every game is going to have random variables to it. But I just didn't like that it was like, well, this run is screwed. I played really good, but I did not get, because dude, some people are going to disagree with me on this, but some of the weapons I think in that game are just trash. Like I think that the shotgun is trash.
It sucks. I hate that thing so much. Yes.
Dude, like when am I, there are so many enemies that you should, like the guys that fly around far away, like you're never going to be able to use that shotgun on them unless it's like one of the later game shotguns that has like some more range stuff. It's like, so, and that's the other thing is, once you go further on into more biomes, you unlock more weapons. And I think more often than not, some of them are not good. Like there's a gun called the Lobber, which I think is terrible as well, but it adds those weapons to the weapon pool. Yeah. So you have more chances of getting a weapon you don't like as you go on, or at least that was my case. So overall though, it still has a lot of that Housemark DNA, the arcadey bullet hell, moment to moment gameplay. Very, very good. I found myself frustrated with just the RNG and also the roguelike stuff. Like I get it. The game is built around that. But I was like, man, I think I would have preferred just a normal game.
Yeah, I think it
involves, normal weapon switching, upgrading, stuff like that.
Well, that's the other thing. If you could carry 2 weapons, I think that would make a world of difference in this. But I think it was you that said on a couple Sacred Symbols ago that you wish, like, whatever. I think it was when Housemark got bought, that you were saying, I think it was you that said, you wish, like, why not just make this game, but just don't do the roguelike or roguelite, whatever they would call this game. Like, don't do that. Just have the game be the game, and you get like, yeah, it might make it easier, whatever, if you get 2-3 lives or whatever, but just do that. And that's kind of how I feel right now, because the best, I got the second boss down to about 10% health, and I just freaked out. I already used my Moon Man and he got me, but I felt like I had a carbine, but it was the carbine that only has like, it shoots slower. It doesn't have as much ammo. And I was like, this sucks. And then I had another run where I had a level 5 handgun, but it's just a handgun, so I don't have a lot of ammo. And I'm like, if I could just like, let me pick up, even if I had a level 3, like fast shooting carbine with a level 5 handgun, whatever, and I can switch back and forth. I love the game. I'm not going to tell somebody how to make their game. It is what it is, but it's so frustrating, but I don't want to give up on this game, but I just don't know that. I don't know that I can beat it. I don't even know that I can beat this boss. And my brother keeps telling me, no, you can, you've gotten him down to 10% on phase 3. You can beat him. You just needed a better gun and you would have done it. But again, it goes back to the RNG stuff. And I don't know, man.
Yeah, dude. And the thing that it sucks that I have to say this, but it's like I like hard games. I've played every Dark Souls game. I platinum Bloodborne and Sekiro. I love hard challenging games, but I don't like it when these hard challenging games feel like they're wasting my time.
Yeah.
That's like, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, video games, I'm not saying they're a waste of time. Obviously, we love them and they're worth our time, but like in a game like Sekiro, there's maybe a little bit of wasted time where you're like going to the boss over and over again. But every time I play, it's like, okay, this is my fault. This is on me.
Right.
Maybe I can change my approach or whatever. Or in the case like Bloodborne or Dark Souls, you can go level up, or maybe you get these items. You can kind of determine your fate, however you think the best way to go. Returnal is like spend 45 minutes getting to biome 3 and grinding up, and then one of the drone guys comes out of nowhere and messes your day up, and then it's over.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's like I just can't get down with that. I just don't. I've never been big on roguelikes except for Hades, because Hades has that really good progression. It doesn't feel like you wasted your time at the end of a run. If it's like, oh, nice, I can now level up all of this stuff. So it's so interesting, though. Have you thought about that? How it's like somehow in every major Returnal conversation, Hades comes up.
Yeah.
And I think it's totally justified, because they're both, it's like two examples of like really popular roguelike games done in very different ways. And I hope that more developers that want to do roguelikes look at Hades and are like, okay, how do we incorporate that sense of progression into our game?
See, I haven't played Hades yet, just because I was like, I know it's going to come to PlayStation at some point. I don't want to play it on my Switch. My laptop I'm recording this on, it sucks. It would run it at like 240p. So I've already pre-ordered it on the PlayStation Store. I cannot wait to finally jump in. And I've heard that Hades is also not as difficult as Returnal, because honestly, to me, again, we were going back and forth with our buddy James. He can't believe that I think Returnal is more difficult than Cuphead and oh my God, what's the name of the ninja game that came out this year?
Neo?
No, the side scroller.
Oh, the one that Yacht Club published.
Yeah, the ninja guy. Cyber Shadow. And I'm like, yeah, to me, maybe it's because I grew up in the 8 and 16-bit era. Yeah, Cuphead was difficult. That stupid robot boss was almost impossible, but we got past him.
That's a rough one.
Yeah, by the way, shout out for the t-shirt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, dude, I love Cuphead. Cuphead's great.
And Cyber Shadow, I died 438 times or something, but I beat it. And I'm like, I just don't know that I can beat Returnal. Like, I beat Demon Souls on PS5. I had fun with Bloodborne. I never beat it, but I beat Demon Souls. My brother came in and helped me out with a Flame Lurker. And other than that, I was able to get through it, because like you said, you can actually learn and level up and everything. Whereas Returnal, it's like you can learn, but it just depends on, as Colin would say, dice rolls in your next run, what weapons you're going to get and everything else. So,
dude, yeah, I feel like and you said you have kids, right?
Yeah.
I feel like Returnal is like the absolute worst game for someone that has kids, or like, to me, like, man, when I was worried that I wasn't going to beat Returnal because I was getting really frustrated with it. And so like for a few days, I just had to like zone in and like play a stupid amount and like really, really get my mind around it, because like it's been, a month or two now. I would probably be terrible at this game. And I think honestly, if I took a few days off of it, I would be terrible at it. It's like, it's one of those games you got to like really, really zone in and have 100% focus, or it's not going to work out.
Yeah, and that's what was tough for me, having a full-time job, 4 kids, and they've got soccer and gymnastics and dance and baseball, whatever. I don't have as much time to game as I would love to, but yeah, and I turned off all my automatic updates so I wouldn't put it into rest mode and get screwed over because of that or something. But I want to go back to it, but I know now that I probably won't, because I'm trying to get through Skyward Sword with these stupid controls. But
dude, that was what put me off. I was like lightly interested, and I was Thursday. I was like, am I gonna have FOMO this weekend
Yeah.
from not playing Skyward Sword? And then a lot of the tweets I saw were like, yeah, this game looks and runs a lot better. The controls still suck. It's like, well, that's
Yeah.
why I didn't like it the first time. Just because I'm really sensitive to that. Not some people aren't as, whatever. It's probably still a pretty good game, but I don't know. I can't get down with that control.
Yeah, and so I've been playing it with my Pro controller, trying to do the right stick controls, and it's like
Right,
the
yeah.
Bokoblin does this, and then he does. I'm like, but it's also I'm 3 hours in, and I haven't even made it to the first dungeon. And my brother warned me. He's like, it does start slow, and he's like, it's not like Twilight Princess with the goat herding and all that. But the thing with Twilight Princess is once I got through all that, I love Twilight Princess. I think the Snow Peak Ruins is one of my favorite Zelda dungeons ever. I freaking loved that. I don't know that Skyward Sword, I'm going to be able to stick with it because these controls are just fighting me so much.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. Nintendo really did Zelda dirty, I think, unless they've got some other stuff planned. It's like, really, it's the anniversary and you're giving us just this. This is it.
Yeah.
It's sad. I would have liked to see more. Who knows? Maybe they'll do something, but this is Nintendo.
Right.
The Nintendo's the king of the bare minimum, as we have seen with the OLED Switch.
Well, and apparently to Grub, the Metroid Prime trilogy is done. They're just sitting on it now. I'm like, come on. I've never played those games because I didn't have a GameCube. I want that trilogy so bad on my Switch. Just you don't have to put it out 6 months before Prime 4. Just put it out. Let us fall in love with it. Play through these 3 long games, and then Prime will be ready. Prime 4 will be ready when it's done. But Nintendo's gonna Nintendo. So
yeah, man, that's exactly it. That's so funny. I have there were like really strong rumors about that Metroid collection, and then they just kind of like washed up. That totally makes sense that it would be done and just waiting there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm super stoked for Metroid Dread. To me, Metroid is a 2D series, and I can't wait for that. That'll be the first time other than Skyward. Skyward is the first time I played my Switch in I don't even know how long. But Metroid Dread, and I actually really like Samus Returns. I know a lot of people weren't too high on it in Mercury Steam, but I'm super stoked for that. Just to play a 2D Metroid game on my big screen, I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I'm excited for it too. The only Metroid game, the 2D Metroid game that I played all the way through is Super Metroid, and I love it. It's fantastic. I'd like to play. A lot of people, what's after that? I mean, there's Zero Mission on the GBA, and that's the remake.
And then Fusion.
Yeah. Right.
Which leads into Dread, apparently.
Right. Yeah.
So. I don't want to keep you too long, Dustin. So I just got 2 more questions for you.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know that I've heard this. Maybe you've said it on Sacred before, but I got to ask anybody that I interview, I got to ask these 2 questions. So what is your favorite, not the best, but your favorite console of all time and your favorite game of all time?
My favorite console of all time. Man, that's a hard one. Because it's hard to battle like nostalgia versus because it's like ultimately probably right now the PS4.
That's me.
Would be.
That's me. To me, it's 1A is PS4, 1B is the SNES. But that might be more nostalgia. But when you look at the games, maybe it's not nostalgia. But sorry, continue.
Yeah, because I mean, for me, the nostalgia is like, man, PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
That's where I really, really fell in love with games as we were talking about earlier with like Metal Gear Solid, and I loved Ape Escape was like a game that I really, really loved on PlayStation 1. The first games I owned for that console were Rayman and Crash Bandicoot 3, which was like a great intro.
Yep.
And man, just so many memories with PlayStation 1. And dude, of course, PlayStation 2. It's huge. It's so hard when you and I are the same, that we both love and have loved games for so long. It's like it's difficult. So yeah, I like the 1A 1B approach with PS4 and PlayStation 1.
Perfect.
And then favorite game of all time.
Are you gonna say Persona?
No. I mean, it's so hard. I mean, it depends on the day for me.
Yeah.
Like overall, I want to say Okay, I said a different answer on a different podcast for you like a week or two ago, so I'll say a different answer now.
Okay.
This is how it works out. I'm gonna say Bloodborne
Oh, nice.
is
That'll make my
my
brother
favorite
happy.
game. It's so good. I had played many Souls games before that, but never finished any of them. Like it didn't click in my brain. And Bloodborne, I remember. It's so funny how you remember small details. After work one day, I went to GameStop to pre-order the NES amiibo that they had in store. And as I was waiting in this line, because their entire system crashed, and so I waited like 2 hours for this stupid amiibo. It was a dumb decision. I could feel myself getting sick. I
Yeah.
was like, I am getting a fever right here in line at GameStop.
Oh my
Eventually, I
God.
got the pre-order. It worked out, but I went home and promptly died. I went to bed like instantly, had a fever, and I was out of work for like probably 3 or 4 days because I had a
Wow.
pretty nasty fever. But I was good enough that this was right. That it was like the week after Bloodborne came out, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna play Bloodborne this whole time, and it was like the best sickness I ever had. Maybe it was like the overall feeling and mood of Bloodborne like played into it.
Yeah.
Um, but man, it was like I don't know if I've ever been that like in a trance of a game before that was like I probably played Bloodborne for like 8 hours the one day, like straight. Like I
Yeah.
would like maybe get up and go to the bathroom and get a drink and eat, but like it was like I can't really move or do anything else. So
Yeah.
and dude, that game it sucks because it's stuck
Yeah.
on PS4 with the poor frame rate and stuff like that. So every day we are, praying to the Sony gods and praying for a Bloodborne remaster, a PS5 update, whatever. I'll take anything.
Yep.
Give it
Director's
to
cut,
me. Dude, I will pay $70 again for this game. I know it's
Yeah.
probably
Me
wrong, but
too.
I'll do it. I'll do it, and I'll do it gladly. But that's what I want, man. It's just update Bloodborne. Let me play it at 60.
Yep. Me too. I don't care about 4K. Make it 60. Just make it a little bit prettier.
Yeah,
That's all I want.
exactly.
For me, my favorite game of all time is Metal Gear Solid 3. I still say it's the best story
Hell yeah.
ever told in a video game. I'll never forget. It was so funny because I remember playing through. I remember reading the IGN review before it came out, and they had a tagline or something that said "going back in time to do it right the first time," and I was like, "Holy crap! Is this actually solid? Going back in time? Like, wait!" And it never dawned on me until the end that I was. And that once I got my eye shot out, I was like, "Wait a minute." And then you realize when president tells you, I award you the title of Big Boss, I'm like, are you kidding me? And then you find out, spoiler alert for a 17-year-old game, that the boss wasn't really defecting, blah, 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 blah. It's just the best story ever told. I know it doesn't hold up control wise, but that's why I so badly want Sony to buy to buy Blue Point and do remakes of 1, 2, and 3. It's just keep the cutscenes, the story, everything the same, change the enemy placements, do all that. I would be as happy as a pig in shit if that actually happens. It's my dream come true.
Dude, those games, man, they're special.
Yeah.
I remember being like I mentioned, I was in elementary school when I played Metal Gear Solid 2. I don't remember exactly what year. That had to have been probably around like 4th or 5th grade for me. I remember getting to the end of that game. Again, here we go with the spoilers on old games here, but the part when the colonel is getting like all corrupt. It scared me. I was like afraid. I was like, this game, what is going on?
I need Scissor 61. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. And it's weird. Like it's like kind of it's funny at the same time because he's like la lay loo lay low. Like it's real weird, but man, so good. Metal Gear Solid 2 also very good. All those games.
I love it. And I'm so excited for Colin and Dagan to do their knockback on it. Just because I want to hear them talk, especially I wrote in with a question. I don't know if it'll get read or not, but just about how Kojima basically predicted the future that he who controls the flow of digital information controls the world. And that's the world we've been living in for the last 5-6 years. And just, man, I love Kojima so much.
Dude, it's funny. I think that sometimes I'm like, every once in a while, like maybe before Death Stranding, I was like, I love Kojima. He's a genius, but maybe he's a hair overrated, even though I love him. And then Death Stranding came out, and it's so funny because there's things about that game that are like, I think Death Stranding is an amazing game. It's second to Sekiro for that year for me.
Yeah, it was my game of the year, and then I had RE2 remake at number 2. But yeah,
dude, that game's it's so incredible. I love the story, but it's like the Monster Energy thing. Like, do we gotta do that? Like, I don't. Kojima's just
Walking
so,
Dead. Yeah.
He's like, man, this ride. What is it? What is Norman Reedus?
Oh yeah,
like,
Ride.
Ride with this would be great on Ride with Norman
Yeah.
Reedus.
Yeah.
Like talking
like
about
what is happening? Yeah.
It's strange, but man, like so prophetic in so many ways. Especially Death Stranding was just strange. Like very, very creepy.
Yeah. I don't know about all the blue box stuff. I'm still on the train that I don't know that it's Kojima, but there's no way some developer no one's ever heard of is getting their own friggin' PS5 app with 5 to 12 minute trailers and gameplay demos and all this. By the way, Konami's licensed out 2 Silent Hill games and we only know about one of them. There's whether it's Kojima or not, there's something going on there. And I do hate that if Kojima's not going to make any more games on PlayStation, that just doesn't feel right. If he does a game for Xbox, that's fine. As long as Xbox doesn't buy Kojima Productions, I won't go off the deep end yet. But man, when that news broke, I was like, oh, that just hurts me because Kojima, I know Metal Gear Solid 5 and the HD collection came out on Xbox, but when you think of Metal Gear and you think of Kojima, other than the early days of Snatcher and everything, you think of PlayStation, and it'll really suck if that's the end of that. But then I think about all these, him talking about what he thinks about the director's cut stuff. I'm like, oh my God, did Sony piss him off making him call this game a director's cut? I don't know. But that's when you start going down the rabbit hole and who knows what.
Right. Yeah. He is. I mean, my hope is that this Xbox thing, which who knows what's going on, but there was rumors that it was like episodic, and so that Sony wasn't interested. And so I hope that it's a situation where like Kojima's like, this is my vision. I'm going to go to the company that lets me do it the way I want to.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that like, we'll never see him again on PlayStation or something. Right. So who knows?
I hope so. That's all I got, Dustin. Thank you so much, man. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate you coming on here.
Yeah, for sure.
Everybody check out @DustinCanFly on Twitter. Go to patreon.com/laststandmedia, where I, like I said, many times, I'm a proud patron of Last Stand. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on, Dustin. This was a lot of fun. I'm so happy for you. Keep kicking ass and everything. And yeah, this was a lot of fun to get together with you, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. This was fun. This was like, I like a good certain, like sometimes I'm on a show and it feels more like uptight or whatever. This was like, felt like a good just chat, what I mean? Like very relaxed. And so it was a fun chat. Anytime, I'm willing to come back anytime. So let me know.
Awesome.
And we can get that worked out. This has been real.
Awesome. I appreciate it, man. That's it for this episode, everybody. And until the next time, thank you for playing.